And correction here, DJ West 9-2 with Ponza. So a pair down here for Pieter.
As most of his matches will be.
Yeah, he is still in first in the tournament.
Good chance that a lot of the people right behind him on the standings already lost to him.
Turn 1 Arbor Elf from DJ West. So in your opponents on this, do you think Ponza, Devotion, Elves doesn't actually play this, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. There's so many that just tap for green. There's a lot of non-basic lands in that deck. I haven't seen Arbor Elf out of Elves. Generally, I assume it's Ponza until I see Burning Tree Emissary or something like that. Just Ponza's on average more popular. There's actually a small Ponza contingent in Minnesota, which is delightful to beat the crap out of them in tournaments.
I never win those matchups.
I have counterspelled a lot of Stone Rains.
Look, I like to play bounce lands, and it's not. That's bad.
So this mountain is pretty telling.
Turn 1, Pieter Tubergen is going to go ahead and get 5 cards onto the board. It is Blinkmoth Nexus, Mox Opal, Signal Pest, Ornithopter. So we talk about the cards that might matter out of the Ponza deck. I don't really care about Blood Moon. Certainly don't care about Stone Rain. But we'll see a turn 2 Blood Moon.
Yeah, Blood Moon's stronger than Stone Rain because it turns off all the creature lands for the duration of the game. You see there is Blinkmoth Nexus there.
Right.
But it's not going to stunt Pieter in terms of relevantly producing mana. And Cranial Plating on turn 2 for Pieter.
Yeah, just still going full speed ahead. Blood Moon is not slowing him down. Here's a swing. We see the, we'll see Pieter count it up here. You see Battle Cry is going to make 2, 4, and then he gets the Cranial Plating.
Yeah.
That's in for 5 more.
Looks like a hit for 9.
Yeah. DJ down to 10. He's going to go ahead and pick up the cards and can't actually beat that.
Yeah, that's a spot where Bonfire would have cleaned things up really nicely.
Yeah, I mean, the hard part, right, is that, well, I guess he actually could have cast it there just for 1. I was going to say he would have to top deck it.
For 1, it's fine. As a miracle, it just probably ends the game, or does a really good job anyway. Yeah,
and just a dominant game 1 there for Affinity. I was going to say the relevant cards out of Ponza, or like the Inferno Titan, cleans up very fast, but DJ's got to get to 6, and with a start like that, he's not going to.
Yeah, when you concede on 3, you're not casting Inferno Titan.
All right, so I would assume in this matchup, this is, if it needs a popular deck, red and green are 2 colors that can answer artifacts when they need to. Let's look at DJ's sideboard and how he's going to address things.
Yeah, so the full sideboard is 3 Kitchen Finks, 2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Trinisphere, 2 Anger of the Gods, 2 Lightning Bolt, 2 Relic of Progenitus, an Obstinate Baloth, and a Shatterstorm. So you got a lot that's really good here. The 2 Ancient Grudge, excellent. The 2 Anger of the Gods, likewise. That would have been really good in that game, for example. 2 Lightning Bolts, more removal spells, great. Sign me up. And the Shatterstorm, another excellent one.
So you can get each of those. For Pieter Tubergen, it's a great matchup on his side. I don't know if he really needs much of his sideboard or how much of it plays. We see Etched Champion, Dispatch, Gear per Aether Grid, Thoughtseize, Vandalblast, Ancient Grudge, Blood Moon, Eidolon of Rhetoric, Thalia, Stain the Mind. He might just present his game 1 deck again.
Yeah, the stuff you might look at, theoretically, you can go for Etched Champion because you expect a lot of Ancient Grudges, a lot of things like Anger of the Gods. If you're able to get some non-creature artifacts, leveraging that one can be important. And he does have that main deck Stubborn Denial. That's probably his best card in the matchup, but you might see him supplement that with some Thoughtseize just to try to go for some of these hateful cards.
Yeah, well, you look at DJ's deck, right, there's a lot of these cards are blanks. I mean, I look at stuff like Thrun the Last Troll. I mean, as a Affinity player, I could care less if my opponent wants to make a 4/4 for 4. So if you take, the 1 Anger of the Gods out of DJ's hand, it's just going to be pretty weak. Thoughtseize, I guess, yeah, Thoughtseize makes sense.
Yeah, it does not line up especially well against Ancient Grudge specifically, but most of the deck is not going to.
So looking at DJ's deck, Stone Rain, Blood Moon, 1 Vuli Acid Moss, that's 10 cards. How much of that can he actually, like, it doesn't seem very good here. Pieter doesn't really use the land. Does he keep it in? Does he cut down on it? I mean, there's so much that I don't think he can actually go down to 0 of this strategy.
Theoretically, he could. He has 7 home runs in his sideboard, and he has some peripheral options that are all fine. Kitchen Finks is pretty reasonable anytime your opponent's attacking. So you can see that one coming in. It's also a way to try to turn the corner and just start attacking. So that puts you up to 10 right there. You could add Obstinate Baloth along those lines as well. That one seems fine. Trinisphere is probably just too slow. I mean, Affinity has a lot of spells that cost between 0 and 2, but it's probably just too slow.
Turn 2 on the play, it might be good.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of conditions I just put on that sentence.
Right, but even without it, you're looking at 12 pretty easily. Relic of Progenitor just replaces itself. If you say that these cards are just really bad, you can put in a card that cantrips over them.
All right. So you're on the SCG Tour. We are here in Charlotte this weekend. We have a couple more stops on the tour before our next Invitational. You see right now we are on the October 14th and 15th Modern Open in Charlotte. We have a lot more action just this month. Next week we'll be moving to Cincinnati where we will have another Modern Open. So going to want to keep an eye on those decks here to see what the metagame, how the metagame might change from week to week. After that, we will be in Washington, D.C. for our Legacy Open. It's the Legacy Open of Season 2, the first Legacy tournament here on the tour with Ixalan cards legal. After that, we will have our regionals. They're November 4th, happening all around the country. We'll tell you more about those in just a little bit. And then we have one more open for the Invitational. It's our Baltimore Team Open, November 18th and 19th. You'll need a team of 3 players, one with a standard deck, one with a modern deck, one with a legacy deck to play the event. Remember, anyone in the top 8 of any of these events will qualify for our Season 2 Invitationals, December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in Roanoke, Virginia.
Pretty excited for Baltimore. It'll be the first Team Open that we're not covering. Going to go out and battle.
What format are you playing?
Legacy. I hate it.
You got some Death Ray Shamans?
Oh yeah, it's the worst.
If you come up to these events, you can get the exclusive playmats here on Season 2. So for Standard Opens and Classics, we have Bantu the Glorified. For Modern Opens and Classics, we are giving away the Invocation of Spell Pierce. And for Legacy, it's going to be Days. Each of those are free with entry to any Season 2 Open or Classic here on Season 2 of the SCG Tour. But your chances to get these are running out, so make sure that you can stop by with one of these to pick up the playmat, or with our infinite challenges at every open weekend.
Got some of those too, some Dazes. That's a good card.
I like the 0 mana part of it.
Yeah.
You can get behind that.
0 mana is a good rate.
Pieter gonna mulligan here on game 2. Looks like DJ having kept.
Yeah, and DJ largely in these sideboard games is looking for sideboard cards. Any hand with Ancient Grudge that's remotely reasonable otherwise, probably just a keep. Similar for Anger of the Gods, I would think.
Yeah, well, right, he only has about 10 cards that are home runs. So if he has one in the opener and the ability to cast it, that's probably good.
Yep.
He's trying to really use a hate card to bridge the way, I would think, to Inferno Titan.
Yep. His 4-mana creatures, a little lower impact, but they're more reasonable to get to and still pretty good in this matchup. The Pieter Kieran Nalar, Huntmaster of the Fells.
Yeah, I like Pieter Kieran. One of my worries on the green-red pawns side is if his finishers, instead of being Pieter Kieran and Inferno Titan, are things like Obstinate Baloth and Stormbreath Dragon, he could still lose.
Yep. So with Pieter going to 5, this one might be easy mode.
Yeah, now if you haven't seen Peter's list, he built a fairly anti-control version of Affinity this weekend with 4 copies of Thoughtcast in the main, supplemented by 2 Welding Jars and a main deck Hope of Girapur. That served him really well, as we've seen a couple times against control decks. And actually, on a mull to 5, I think this gives him more play.
Yeah, the Thoughtcast for sure. The Welding Jars are a lot worse on a mulligan. They're quite a bit better against Lightning Bolt than they are against Ancient Grudge as well.
Yeah, with Ancient Grudge, the problem with Welding Jars, Grudge is going to get 2 artifacts no matter how you split it.
Right. And forget about being Shatterstormed.
Yeah, they can't be regenerated.
Don't even think about being Shatterstormed. Now the question is...
Because the 4-mana Destroy All Artifacts wouldn't be playable without that clause on it.
What I want to know is which edition, which printing of Shatterstorm did
10th
GJ
ed.
bring? 10th, that's fine.
Because it's black bordered, we're okay.
I want to see like 5th edition. Just one of the really
That's
ugly
the one with
white
like the
borders.
cup getting broken, right?
Just with stupid art. 5th edition had some of the worst art in Magic history. Love finding a 5th edition basic because they're just white bordered, no set symbol, and they just look weird.
DJ on the play here is going to start with Utopia Sprawl. Sets up the possibility for some big turn 2 plays.
Yeah, Utopia Sprawl can only enchant a forest. A lot of times you would see that it would be going on like a stomping ground, but in this deck, because you play Blood Moon, you always want to put it on the basic forest.
Yeah, otherwise if you make Blood Moon on a dual land, it will fall off. It can only enchant a forest. He's chosen red, and look at this keep from Pieter. His turn 1 play was go.
Maybe a hand that's just off by 1 land.
On 5 cards, that's a keep. He did scry to the bottom, so a bit of a risk, and he missed. We might see a turn 2 Blood Moon from DJ. I guess it's don't know if that's game over, even though Pieter has nothing in play.
Yeah, sometimes you have these hands that have like Mox Opal and are just super good if you top deck Darksteel Citadel specifically.
Yeah. So he'll play Tireless Tracker.
Could also just be off by a land and still be pretty explosive.
Pieter draws Thoughtcast. I don't think he has any castable cards yet. Yeah, just says go. Swing by Tracker for 3. We see Lightning Bolt in hand, Stomping Ground for DJ.
PN Kieran here probably just closed the game.
Yeah, PN Kieran Nalar. See if he got the clue token off Tireless Tracker. Looks like no clue token.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to really change this.
Wouldn't be the first time we saw no clue token not matter this tournament.
Daryl Ayers yesterday, if you missed it. I think missed 4 clue tokens in one turn.
I think it was only 3.
It was only 3. It's the land and then the Primeval Titan.
Yeah.
He assumed he was winning that turn. Who needs clue tokens when they're at 0?
It is true.
In a similar sense, you know, like clue tokens on this board are kind of sus.
Right.
They're nice, but
yeah, Pieter may or may not even have any action here.
Here we go. Welding Jar, Mox Opal, Memnite. Okay, Mox Opal's online now. Springleaf Drum, Thoughtcast. Draws 2.
And this is what he wanted to do on turn 1.
Yeah, this would have been fine then. It could still be okay. Right now, DJ doesn't have an answer to Etch Champion. We'll see land, Springleaf Drum, pass. So gets 6 cards into play. None of them do anything yet.
He has a 1/1, some mana sources,
and a Welding
way to
Jar.
regenerate them.
DJ will just attack here for 7. Puts Pieter down to 10. And play Shatterstorm.
Yeah, there you go. Look at
All
that.
right.
That card is hideous.
Pieter scoops up. Yeah, those cards. He puts those Thopters away too. That's right.
Yeah, it would have killed the clue token anyway. So no problem missing that trigger.
It's true, would have. Here's Ornithopter. It's not going to do too much. Now where Pieter could not Welding Jar through that Shatterstorm. But DJ will continue attacking. Here's 5. He's got Pieter down to 5. Huntmaster of the Fells. I think another Shatterstorm in DJ's. Does he have 2? He has another whiteboarded something. Not just 1 in the sideboard.
Could be Blood Moon.
Okay.
I think it's Lightning Bolt, actually.
Well, whatever it is, it's enough. We're going to go to a 3rd game here. Pieter mulling to 5, keeping a hand that needed some help, and certainly wasn't going to beat a Shatterstorm.
Yep. Back on the play, though, that should help him quite a bit, and he just needs to dodge some of these sideboard cards. On the play, you can get ahead of Shatterstorm and just win before it's a factor. A little bit tougher against Utopia Sprawl when the Shatterstorm's coming down on turn 3.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Pieter wants to re-sideboard at all here. He really just is hoping to get something more playable this game.
I'm not against Thalia. You maybe want that one on the play.
Yes, the 2-mana Thalia. That was an interesting one we talked about yesterday. Him choosing to play Thalia over a card like Aethersworn Canonist.
It's a lot better here.
Yeah, especially when a lot of DJ's Haymakers are 5-mana cards.
Probably really good against Primeval Titan decks. Certainly the Valakut versions.
Yeah,
Pay 3 for your
Thalia's
Rampant
annoying.
Growth. Pay 3 for your Ancient Grudge.
It's really good against Ancient Grudge because a lot of times those decks, their turn 3 play is to play and flashback Grudge. At 3 and 2, the card isn't fast enough.
Yep.
I do like that. So you mentioned we have at December 1st our Invitational coming up. If you can't make it out to qualify at one of our opens, there's another way to get yourself to Roanoke on December 1st, and that's the Star City Games Invitational Qualifiers. These are tournaments happening at stores around the country where you can win invitations to the Star City Invitational in December. So their exclusive prize of $1,000 to the top 8. You get 2 invitations, first and second, to the Invitational. You can get points to earn buys at our opens, as well as top 8 pins, playmats, and you can get some of our player tokens just for showing up. You can find an Invitational qualifier near you at starcitygames.com/IQ.
The Season 2 Invitational is fast approaching. Be a second in-house one at Roanoke.
I mentioned we have 3 opens left before the next Invitational. That and regionals. So they're going to get ready for Game 3. We're going to take a second to tell you about the other way to qualify, and that's coming up in just a few weeks, 3 weeks here. It's Star City Games Regionals.
Plant your flag at the StarCityGames.com Season 2 Regional Championships. On November 4th, play Modern at any one of the 11 regional locations across the U.S. The first 200 players to register for each event will receive a Hammer and Scale playmat and Kraken token just for signing up. Regional championships are part of the SCG Tour with SCG points for all players. Top 8 competitors earn a trophy, a share of $5,000, and a spot on the Season 2 SCG Invitational. Visit go.starcitygames.com/regionals to learn more.
StarCityGames.com Regional Championships, November 4th. If you note there, we did add a location since last week. Now Dallas will be hosting a regional as well. You can find a full list of locations on our website, starcitygames.com.
The Texas region.
It's a large region just by itself.
It is. It is a large state.
Game 3 will put Pieter back on the play. We saw Game 1 with a good start on Pieter's side. DJ was really unable to compete. You see DJ on a mulligan here. He's going to look for one of those high payoff cards.
Ancient Grudge in the opener is tough to pass on. You'd love to see one of those. Only 2 copies, though.
Yeah, I mean, the big one's what? 2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Anger of the Gods, 1 Shatterstorm. The problem is if you only have 5 cards, if there's only 5 Haymakers, 5 isn't enough to mulligan to one of them. The chances of you just mulliganing out is too high. It's about 8 or 9 where you can just mulligan to one of them.
Yeah. A hand that had turn 1 Arborel for Utopia Sprawl into turn 3 some action into turn 4
Like,
P and Kieran Nalar probably has to be keepable, certainly on 6 for that reason.
Yeah, it's one of those hands where, you know, a turn 3 Pia on the draw likely doesn't win, but you probably have to keep it.
Sometimes Affinity does just tick up.
Right. We'll see 6 cards here from DJ.
Light on other 1-for-1 things. You see 2 lightning bolts in the sideboard, none in the main deck. So outside of the Haymakers, pretty low on just the 1-for-1s, and 1-for-1s you generally need a high volume to compete with Affinity.
Keep on 6 on a scry to the top for DJ. And we are underway. Turn 1, Welding Jar, Darksteel Citadel, Mox Opal, Springleaf Drum, Thoughtcast. I mean, and some of these starts, they're just very hard to compete with. If Pieter makes Mem Knight, he can keep going here. He does not, though. He'll pass.
Depending on what happens on turn 2, for example, if this hand was keepable off Thoughtcast, you might not see Pieter have much of a follow-up.
DJ, turn 1, Utopia Sprawl, naming red on a basic forest. Sets up some of his powerful turn 2 plays.
I see both players are accelerating their mana.
Yeah. That's fair.
I would say that
Pieter got to spend the extra mana on the first turn. DJ has to wait.
Mox Opal is a little bit better than Utopia Sprawl.
Yeah.
But it's more hated out.
Cards that make more mana than they cost. That's a good mechanic. Soul Ring.
Yeah, the kids love it.
Mox Opal. These are all good cards.
It's good for the game.
You should play as many of them as you can. Arcbound Ravager here from Pieter.
That's a good follow-up.
Yeah, still has 2 more mana available with that Drum and Opal.
Creature land hanging out if he has to move it over. The Welding Jar to protect it as well.
It looks like Inkmoth Nexus was the land play for the turn. And Pieter has to make sure that he plays around some of the higher impact cards. Shatterstorm, he already saw 1 out of DJ last game. DJ, tapped Stomping Ground and pass.
Not an awe-inspiring turn 2.
Well, the green-red deck really, until it hits 4 mana, doesn't do too much, especially against a deck that doesn't where Stone Rain isn't live. I mean, he just doesn't have too many 3-mana plays.
Yeah. Might not even been worth paying 2 life if he had Tireless Tracker for the Stomping Ground.
Fortunately for DJ, Pieter has not presented a strong clock here. Turn 2 Arcbound Ravager just attacks for 1. He adds a Signal Pest to the board, but there's nothing like Master of Ethereum or Cranial Plating to really push damage.
Yeah. Ravager, the more low impact immediately in terms of the Haymakers of the Affinity deck, but it's the harder one to beat with removal spells.
Yeah, it's harder to beat with removal. On DJ's side, he's trying to beat Affinity with these trump cards, so to speak. You look at his hand. He's got PN Kieran Nalaar and 2 copies of Inferno Titan. If he can survive to that point, I think he's fine. I mean, he'll answer it in a much bigger way. You see here from Pieter an attack for 1 damage, though, from Ravager and 2 poison from Inkmoth Nexus.
Yeah, takes an aggressive line here. This leaves him off of mana to animate one of these creature lands. If he wants to move the Ravager, he'd have to do it under the Signal Pest now.
Okay.
But he'll still be able to maintain these 2 Nexuses if there's just Shatterstorm on the following turn.
Yeah, he used Darksteel Citadel just to get an extra point of damage in on that Arcbound Ravager. And we see Arbor Elf from DJ and a pass. So he misses that 4th land, though. Now, the nice thing is the interaction between Arbor Elf and Utopia Sprawl.
Right, on the following turn, he'll be untapping with 5 mana available.
Yeah, an untapped land, and he can skip the PN Kieran and go straight to Inferno Titan.
And DJ is threatening lethal infect on this turn. The question is whether or not he wants to shove.
So what do you have to watch out for? You're right. I mean, you're talking if he sacrifices all the artifacts to the Ravager, then activates Inkmoth Nexus, puts all the modular counters on Inkmoth Nexus. He could try to put 8 poison on DJ.
DJ is only going to be able to cast 1 spell. The mana available is 1 red and 1 green. That could be Lightning Bolt, Orange, and Grudge, not both, not Flashback. So you'd have to use the Welding Jar to regenerate if there is a problem, but that might be fine.
Well, so my concern here is if you're using the Welding Jar to regenerate, you don't actually have enough mana to, like, you need to sacrifice the jar for the 1/1 counter, and you need it for the regenerate.
Yeah.
He's just a little short of material.
Well, this one's nice.
Yeah, now when it's a cranial plating, then there's no need to make that kind of play. You can just put the plating on the Inkmoth Nexus. He'll animate and attack. The Inkmoth Nexus is a 1/1, but you count these artifacts. See,
it's
5,
lethal.
6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's just lethal poison. So you can check for the answer and still have your board. And DJ doesn't have one. He extends the hand. Pieter Tubergen is going to stay in first place with a win here.
Yeah, sometimes your deck makes it easy.